Howard Stern reportedly out, ending his show run at Sirius. This guy was like a big deal way back when. But Howard Stern has kind of fallen off people's radars. I mean, it's a show that nobody talks about, like, anymore at all. When was the last time I even saw it? I mean, you can go all the way back to the 90s. Like, that's late 90s, maybe, when I saw Howard Stern. So he had this show. It was like a killer show for a while. And now you got to hand it to comic book news. They said Howard Stern show reportedly canceled amid woke irrelevancy. I really liked that title because they're calling it like it is, right? Woke irrelevancy. He and Colbert have a few things in common. I mean, he kept putting Kamala Harris on the show. He hated Donald Trump because he thought this served him, I guess. I don't know. But he's been on Sirius apparently for 20 years. I don't think I've seen him in 20 years. Like, didn't I say late 90s is the last I remember of Howard Stern? How about you guys? I mean, Jay Chapman saying, you know what? Howard Stern has not been cool since, what did you say? The late 80s? Oh, you're really going back a ways then. Anyway, I just thought that this was sort of amusing and worth noting because he actually is suffering from a very similar problem to many of these shows that have gone so woke. In other words, if you're a comedic show, fine, like, be comedic. Like, why are you choosing to always talk about politics? Like, people don't always want to talk about, I mean, come over here if you want to, like, talk about politics and we'll talk about politics, but why are the comedians always trying to do this? And it's like bitter and it's mean and it's mean-spirited. I mean, gosh, you look at the success of Gutfeld's show versus the other late night shows, and they're doing that on a shoestring budget. Or you look at the success just of all these podcasts where we're really doing it on a shoestring, right? And beating CNN in the process. Gosh. So Howard Stern had this show on Sirius. They were paying him a ton of money. The staff now is reportedly totally freaked out because they're like, wait a second, we got a plan. Is he not renewing? Now, this is just reports, right? Like, it has not been confirmed by him, but the president himself was asked about it and had some rather interesting things to say about Howard, as well as Jimmy Fallon, as well as Stephen Colbert, kind of making the point that I am, that they've all just become irrelevant somehow, some way, pretty quickly. Watch.
Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here. I could go outside in the beautiful streets and pick up a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent. Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine because they get, you know, Colbert has better ratings than Kimmel or Fallon. You know that. Howard Stern, it's a name I haven't heard. I used to do a show, used to have fun, but I haven't heard that name in a long time. What happened? He got terminated?
Yeah, they're going to separate ways because I think what they're offering salary-wise is real low than what he's getting.
You know when he went down?
Whenever you want.
You know when he went down? No, before. When he endorsed Hillary Clinton, he lost his audience. People said, give me a break. He went down when he endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Mr. President?
I think that's probably about the time. I mean, really, I mean, I think I would argue, and maybe it's just because I didn't consume a lot of Sirius radio. I would argue that I kind of lost track of Howard Stern somewhere in the late 90s. So he's been on Sirius for 20 years, and now that show is coming to an end. So, like, it's really amazing, like, how some of these things are ending. And before you say, oh, well, you know, it's Trump that's ending him, it's not. It's not at all. You know, it's actually just, and we go back to numbers, we go back to ratings, and you look at these cable ratings and how bad they are because no one trusts them anymore. And there's also just a whole new medium. I mean, I think Howard and his team and his show are the victim of a couple things. One, people feel like they're getting lied to. And two, nobody's listening to the radio anymore. Everybody's like over here and streaming. I mean, you even think about Apple Podcasts, and we love Apple, and we're hoping that you're listening to us on Apple, but even that podcasting genre is switching to video. I made a very big decision when I started this channel, and I've had the channel for a few years. I had a very smart producer back at Fox who said, you really ought to have a channel. And I never used it. Like, so we've had this channel, right, for a long time. And about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I said, all right, I'm really going to commit to this, and I'm going to do a show, and I'm going to do it every single day. And we'll see what happens. And here we are now approaching 1 million subs, which is just incredible. And it gets harder and harder and harder. Believe me, people think it's going to get easier. I'm like, isn't there any compound interest here? No, there's no compound interest. I think it gets harder the closer you get to the milestones. So do what you can, like, share, make a comment, all that good stuff. But I think the reality is that it was a good decision by me at the time. I wish I had done it years earlier, but the commitment to video was really important because the audio stuff really is just not what it was. And so being over here on YouTube, having a video show, being live like this is really kind of a game changer, certainly for me and for my business. But this is the reality of how the whole industry is changing. So Howard, yeah, sure. I mean, politically, he's not necessarily as perhaps, I mean, maybe he's truthful. I don't know. I don't think he is. I don't think any of these people are very truthful. I think if you're truthful, then you'd be far more honest about both sides. And how is it that you're like best friends with Donald Trump and going to his wedding and this and that, and then all of a sudden he's the most evil person on earth? That seems very disingenuous to me. Howard Stern had a good show back in the day. Howard Stern could probably, he's an acquired taste. For some people still have a good show. He's just in the wrong medium at this point. So he's well, no, I mean, I don't even know. What am I saying? That he could have a good show? Because the reality is, if you're going to lie to people, I don't think you're going to have a good show. I just don't. And Howard, no one trusts you anymore. I mean, you've become irrelevant and nobody trusts you. And this is what they're all suffering from, right? This is the reality of where we are. It's why you see ratings like this right now. This is what, that people do not trust these networks, and they're moving away from these networks, and it can't happen fast enough, really and truly. And it has everything to do with the Russia stuff and nothing to do with Donald Trump saying, okay, you're going to be out of business. He's not saying you're out of business. They're looking at it and saying, gosh, we're not doing well anymore. We're just not doing well. And that's just the reality of where they are.